So we're
Right.
live.
Okay, here we are. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah. So, should I give it a second? Maybe I should give it a second.
Yeah, I'll move
Yeah.
this
You're
back
so
a
much
bit.
better at this than I am because you've done so many more than I have. I feel like I'm always winging it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always winging it too because I feel like the Substack Live is still a very new thing, and
Yeah.
so I am very cognizant that it's not like YouTube or like Twitch, both of
Right.
which I've done before. So I'm
Right.
always having to remember that it's not the same. I mean, people who come here probably have gone to a YouTube live or watch stuff on Twitch, but the
Right.
behavior in chat and when viewers come in is just very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're such an expert on Twitch. It's crazy. I feel like, like, does Erica have like another life where she's like a gamer? She's like a big
I mean,
gamer.
I was at one point, but actually my first entry into Twitch was the Twitch Creative that they started with Adobe. Many
Okay.
moons ago, almost a decade ago, Twitch had a collaboration with Adobe where they wanted to do a creative arm. So they had people on Twitch who were crocheting, who
Right.
were, doing puzzles, who were painting. Like there was this whole creative thing, and one of them was writers as well, but mostly illustrators because it's Adobe, so Photoshop,
Right.
and that's why they did it. But it didn't last very long because Twitch is a gaming
Right.
platform, so
That makes
um,
sense.
it was very quickly, and then it was like over and done with. But a lot of us remained and just stayed friends with each other, and
Oh,
uh,
that's
I
nice.
made a lot of I made a lot of friends that way.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I love that. I don't know what I'd do without Substack. I mean, Substack's really kept me going through this this chapter of my life, I'd have to say. So, anyway, well, I guess we could go ahead and get
Yeah,
started.
yeah, we can get
So,
started.
hi everyone. It's so great to be here and to have you here. And man, I really look forward to these conversations about murder mysteries with Erica. So, thank you so much for being for being here, Erica. You're the best. You're such a trooper. I
Yeah,
love.
just so everyone knows, my background looks different than usual because I am in bed. I fell on, let me say, I twisted my ankle and fell on Wednesday. So
Uh,
I went from being sick, extremely sick, to
uh,
finally getting healthy. I no longer have a cough like I had like about 2 or 3 days ago, to
yeah.
now being literally stuck in bed, with my foot up and an ice pack and the whole bit. So, but my right ankle. I've been twisting this way for the my entire life. Like I can recall vividly at least a dozen times in the last 30 years that I have twisted it in the same exact way. Like
Oh my gosh.
it's just
Yeah.
a thing that happens with every couple of years. I end up it turns and I plant my foot very hard and I hear the crunch and that's
Uh,
it.
oh, it's painful, Erica.
It
It's like
is. It is
pain
very
right
good. Wednesday, I literally could not put any weight on it. Now I can do a zombie walk, which is what I like to call it.
now.
So I can zombie walk around, but it's still a bit swollen.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Well, man, I hope
Yeah.
you get better soon. Like, I know that's hard.
So yeah,
Like, yeah,
if
with
it's not
everything
one
you got.
thing, it's another. Like it's just never ending. But I'm here. I can do it. Like I
You're
didn't
the
lose my
best.
voice. I'm not sick, so I'm like, why would I cancel when it's just my foot? Like, let's just do it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, and this is a good one to not miss, everybody who's here or watching it later, because we are discussing Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express, which
And
is,
I expect this to be a long discussion,
I
probably
know,
the probably the longest of all 12
I
months,
know, right?
um, because of just the nature of the beast of what Murder on the Orient Express is. So,
Yeah, yeah. So, so if you're watching this and you haven't read Murder in the Orient Express and you want to read it,
mm,
when we get to a part where we're gonna spoil it for you, I'm gonna go like this.
yeah,
Cut, cut.
that's the signal.
That's a signal. Like, join us for this beginning conversation, and then when we get to an important part, I'm gonna do this, and then like exit out so that it's not spoiled or ruined for you, especially if you
Right.
started reading with us and you just haven't quite finished yet, which
Yeah.
I totally understand. So,
So let's start, I think, with like a small, if you can do a small synopsis of the murder on the Orient Express.
okay,
You think you can do one in a couple of sentences?
let's see. Oh, oh my gosh. See, this is why you're the best. This is why you're the best. 100-word stories, you know how succinct, right?
Yeah,
Finished writing a short story and I'm like, why am I so wordy in this one part? This is so crazy. And I'm like, I need Erica here with me to like help me like trim this way down. So anyway, okay, so this story is about Hercule Poirot,
yeah,
Agatha Christie's detective, who is taking a train from, I think it's Istanbul to
yeah,
London, I think. And on the train, a murder occurs. It
yes,
is this mystery is a closed circle,
right,
locked door mystery, locked room mystery, I mean.
yep,
Closed circle, locked room mystery, where it is a crazy whodunit. And he
right,
is in a coach with 13, I think, or I think there's 15 people total.
yep.
13 other 12 other passengers. No,
Right.
13.
The
13.
well, the
Yeah.
victim is, I think, number 13, right? So
Right, right,
there are
right,
12 because they make the joke about the jury.
right,
So a jury would have 12
right.
jurors.
And then,
And so, or not the
yep,
joke, but the little correlation. So there's 13 passengers on the train. One of them gets murdered, and then there's Poirot. There's the head of the Wagon
right.
train.
Boot, yeah,
He's there, Book,
yeah,
Monsieur Book, and then
right,
there's the doctor,
right.
who also happens,
You're right,
Constantine, I believe is his name. So, but you can rest assured that
right,
the only suspects are the 12. So you
right,
have Poirot, Monsieur Book, and Constantine are kind of working together and constantly
right,
together, discussing who the murderer could be.
right, right. So it's interesting because I like that you watch. So Eric and I discussed this briefly before this about the movies that we were going to watch and all the
Right.
different adaptations and things we're going to watch. So,
Right. So
so
let me
Eric,
actually talk about,
yeah,
let's talk about the different mediums, because there's the book,
yeah,
which I this is the book I read. So
oh,
I
okay,
actually purchased the special edition. I have the regular
right,
one. Like
mhm,
there are several I mean, this book has been reprinted a million times.
right,
So I read this version. There's also a graphic novel
hmm,
version, which I
right, and I
also
have
read. Do
that.
you have that one? Okay, yeah. So
Uh-huh,
I have that one too. It's
mhm,
just in my office, so I don't have it on me. I
yeah,
read that one, and then I listened to
me
the
too,
audiobook
me too.
while I was reading this. So while I was reading this,
Okay,
I was
yeah,
listening to the audiobook.
mhm,
Um,
yeah,
so those were the mediums.
right,
Yeah, those were the mediums that I did. But then I also watched, there are 4 adaptations. Well, there's actually more than 4, but
hmm,
I'm only looking at the main 4
right,
because they've done it in
right,
different languages.
right.
There's also a radio version. So if you want to listen
Yeah, there
to,
is.
which is really like, that means that
Mhm,
there's sound effects. Usually when it's a radio version, it means it's like way back before there was television. So that means that
right,
they did sound effects and all of these other things.
which is
I
fun.
didn't,
That's
yeah, which
fun.
is fun. I didn't listen to the radio version, but for other mediums out there, there's a video game which there's a current demo of if you have a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, and I haven't played
Um,
that yet,
I
so
started the demo and then I was like, you know what, I'm too much in the weeds. I was like, I gotta cut something out. So I cut out the video game.
yeah,
But I also cut out one of the adaptations. So even though I've seen the Kenneth Branagh
right,
version when it first came out a couple years ago,
mhm,
it was not a part of my rewatch for these 4 weeks that we did this. So, I watched, in order of release, I watched the Albert Finney
mhm.
version from 1974. And just so that you don't have to,
Thank you.
I suffered
Thank
through
you very
the
much.
Alfred Molina version from 2001, which was actually a made-for-TV version. So this is one of those where they filmed it and the intention was to put it directly on TV. Back in the day, that's what a lot of movies were done that way. They were
Right,
made for TV. And then I watched the best one,
mhm,
which is I want to come back to when I say it's the best one. I only say that because I love David Suchet, but I watched the David Suchet one. I will say of the four,
Mhm.
it's the one that's the ending is least like the book.
Uh-huh.
So while I feel it's the best acted, the best performed, the most
It is.
passionate
It
of
is,
the
and I
four,
agree. That is the
the
best.
ending is if you want one that's authentic to the book,
Mhm.
I hate to say that it's the Kenneth Branagh one, um, just because his mustache
Right,
is ridiculous.
right.
Um, but there are too many inconsistencies and differences in let's rank them. The worst is Alfred Molina.
Listen, I couldn't make it through it. I couldn't
And
listen, I got
before
15, 20
before
minutes in, I couldn't even do it.
before I even saw the Alfred Molina one, which I didn't
Yeah.
even know existed until I was doing my research, I
Mhm.
would have said Albert Finney was the worst one by far.
Right,
And then you've got the best ones, which would be the Kenneth Branagh and David Suchet.
right.
But just to get it out of the way, let me talk about the worst ones, and then we could get to the actual book. So, because I just want to really
Right.
just get this out of the way. So first of all, one of the best things you know about these Murder on the Orient Express is not just the story, but the
Mhm.
cast,
Right.
because you really do have these cast of 12, and
Very
so
different people, very
and the
different cast.
idea is
Yep.
you usually get big name stars to be in
Yeah,
it
yeah,
because that's just what you did in television. You had these big name stars. So
right.
Um, starting I'm gonna start with the worst. I was gonna start from the oldest to the newest, but I wanna get Alfred Molina out of the way because it's really bad.
Yeah.
Don't watch it because
Right.
what immediately takes you out of it is when first you realize he has a girlfriend.
Which is so stupid. What? Why are we
First
here? Why are we watching
first
this movie?
Hercule
We're not
Poirot
watching it for this. What are you
has
doing?
a girlfriend, which is like, I'm sorry, what?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Let's move on from the girlfriend
Let's
for
move
half a
on.
second.
Yeah.
Then the other issue I have is it takes place in present day,
Right,
meaning
right.
they mention names like Elton John.
Y My god.
And
I didn't even make it that far to know
yeah,
that.
you didn't make it before, but the Princess Dragomirov is talking about how she got an invitation from Elton John to go to a party where Sting and Madonna and all these people are waiting for her, and she's gonna be late to
Oh
this
my
party.
gosh, are
And
you
I'm just
kidding
like,
me?
"What
What?
are we saying? What are we
Uh,
doing? What is
what
happening?"
is happening?
It's so bad. And so I just wanna talk about who the big name stars are in this movie because it is unfortunate
Yeah,
that this was one of Leslie Caron's last movies.
yeah, mhm,
My darling,
right.
was her life so bad? Did she fall so far from grace that she would do a movie like this? I
Right,
don't understand. I don't understand. And then Meredith Baxter is another
right.
big name that happened to be in this movie. Really bad movie. I found it on YouTube. It's someone like uploaded it on YouTube, so you can watch it for free on YouTube if you want to suffer through it. Um, I wouldn't. Do yourself a
Yeah,
favor.
don't watch that.
It's not only is it so far removed from the book, Monsieur Book, the head of the Wagon whatever, is not his name. They name him something else. I can't even remember what his name is, but it's not
Mhm.
Book. They don't have 12
Which
because I
what?
guess they couldn't afford 12. I
They
think they
clearly
only
didn't read
had
the book. The director, the producer, the
I don't know if
studio.
it's that they couldn't afford the
Studio
cast,
knew
like,
it.
they only had 8 or 9
Yeah,
of
yeah,
them. They didn't have the full Monty. There was so much of it that had to be changed for the
yeah,
sake of modernizing it, I
right.
guess. The other thing is they weren't trapped in a snowdrift. I think it was like a landslide.
Mhm,
So it wasn't the middle of winter. It was like just heavy rains,
mhm.
which was totally different. Like there was a lot of things that they changed, and I don't know if it was for production's sake, cost sake, whatever the sake was. It
Yeah,
was if you were gonna do that much, you
right.
could have done a on-train murder mystery that wasn't Murder on the Orient Express.
Right. Right.
right? You could have just done that and saved us all the trouble. And so next up
Yeah.
from that is one of the ones that unfortunately people to this day will say is the best Hercule Poirot is Albert Finney. I
No.
don't understand.
No.
Um, I don't understand why people think Albert Finney is a good Poirot. One
Yeah,
of the things that struck me, I don't know if you rewatched the Albert Finney
I did.
the novel.
Mhm.
One of the things that struck me was the directorial choices that were made. And I say that
Mm.
because the first half of the movie, you don't see his face. And
No,
I
right,
think
that's true.
and I think that was a choice
Mhm.
because I think the director knew Albert Finney was overacting and looking really weird in the way he was talking. And so I think it was a
Right.
camera angle choice
Hmm.
to not show him from behind, from the side. They
Right.
did as much as they could,
That's
show the
interesting.
point of
Yeah.
view of,
Yeah.
show the face of the person he's talking to, show the outside, show the decor, but
Mhm.
they did everything that they could to not show you Albert Finney's face, and I
Mhm.
think it was intentional.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
was just like it was so obvious from the very beginning that I was like, "Do they do this in the whole movie?" Like,
Right.
did he
Well,
know that this was
yeah.
so bad? Like, I've gotta save this movie somehow. I'm stuck with Albert Finney. What do I do? Okay, I just won't film him. Like, you can hear him, but I just won't show him,
You know it's
and that'll
Poirot, you
fix
know he's
and
there, it's
that'll fix the
fine, you know
movie.
that guy you know who
Um,
that guy is.
Next to the Kenneth
Right.
Branagh version, this one I think has the most stars
Yeah. Yeah, so
of the
so I
4.
have to talk about this, I have to talk about this, I was very excited about this. I'd actually forgotten that I mean, it has a slew of stars, right? But
Who did you forget was in it? There was one
I
person I
forgot that
forgot was in it.
I forgot that Anthony Perkins was in it, right?
This when Psycho showed up, I was like,
So
"Holy shit, wait."
listen, I have a great connection. I mean, a great, like, let me link all these things together for you kind of connection thing, right? So, he is Anthony Perkins is a huge mystery buff at the time that I don't know if it was before or after. No, 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 no. It came much later, I think. Um, he dated Stephen is it Sondheim, who's the musical oh my god, I can't
Mhm.
believe yeah, Sondheim. He was dating Sondheim, right? They were, like, kind of a power gay couple in Hollywood,
Right.
right?
They were, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so, they loved playing murder mystery games together, right? So it makes total sense that Anthony Perkins is in this version of Murder on the Orient Express, but they love playing murder mystery games together and that sort of thing as a couple, and so Sondheim and Perkins came up with this whole, story idea for the movie that eventually became The Last of Sheila, and that
Love The Last of Sheila. That is such a
yeah.
fascinating
Yeah, right?
watch of a movie from a
Right?
cinematic standpoint, from a
Yes,
storyline standpoint.
yes.
I discovered The Last of Sheila, and I don't even remember how I came across it, and
Yeah,
when I watched it, I was like, "Man, there are some movies back then that I need to pay more attention to," 'cause
right,
I
right.
just recently watched that movie within the last decade, I would think.
Yeah,
I discovered it, and I was like and I think they remade it recently, horrible remake, but,
yeah.
it's such a good movie.
Did they? I didn't even know they were well, thank goodness I didn't know that they remade it, but, Louise, who just joined, hey, just letting you know, we're talking about The Last of Sheila and the Murder on the Orient Express connection to Anthony Perkins, who's in Albert Finney's version of Murder on the Orient Express, and then the
Yeah,
movie The Last of Sheila. And like so, Ryan Johnson, director and executive producer Ryan Johnson, who does the Benoit Blanc murder mystery series that's currently airing on Netflix. He is a huge fan of the movie The Last of Sheila, and so he was inspired by The Last of Sheila for Glass Onion. So there's just
yeah,
I
you
could go
could
on and
tell
on
that
and on
that
and
was
connect all these dots.
I immediately
Yeah.
realized that The Last of Sheila was being used when they did The Glass Onion. It was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
obvious
When
that
they're
I was
getting
like,
on
"Oh,
the boat,
man."
that
Yeah,
shot, that wide pan, they're getting on the boat together, they're standing there together, about to get on the boat, yeah.
and I
So
was so glad I made my wife see that movie because when that happened, she even remarked to me, was like, "That looks like that movie we watched." And I was like, "Yes,
right,
it's The
right.
Last of Sheila,
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah.
that they're doing here." Um, but one of the things I always find so, fascinating when I see actors and then you see them in roles that are completely outside of their norm.
Mhm.
Anthony Perkins happens to be is
Yeah.
Anthony Perkins and, the guy who plays Sherlock Holmes, whose name escapes me now, Jeremy Brett. Those
Oh,
are
yeah.
2 actors where there are roles that they have played that's so far removed from what you know them as,
Right.
that I always have to laugh a little, and with Jeremy Brett is he's in, My Fair Lady, and
Oh, that's right.
he sings and dances in My Fair Lady, and whenever I think of him as Sherlock Holmes and then as Freddie Eynsford Hill in My Fair Lady, I'm just so tickled, and then there's Anthony Perkins, who's in the non-musical version of Hello, Dolly, which is called The
What?
Matchmaker. If you've ever
What?
seen The Matchmaker, it's a
No.
non-musical
How do I
version
not
of
know
Hello,
this?
Dolly,
What?
where
That is crazy.
he plays the main boy. It's the
Mhm.
2 boys who go to New York, and he plays the main one. And so it's just such a funny transition to see him smiling and, like, in love, and it's a very different
Right.
thing, and every time I see him, I'm just like, "Oh my god, it's Psycho," but no, it's also this kid from The Matchmaker, which is just so different. But anyway, okay, we're getting a bit off track.
Yeah, we
So
are. That's okay.
I wanted to talk about the other stars aside from Anthony Perkins, who are
Yeah.
even bigger names that were in
Right.
the Albert Finney version. So you've got Vanessa Redgrave,
Yes.
you've got Sean Connery,
Right.
you've got, and then the biggest
The
names
biggest, the biggest
are Ingrid Bergman and Lauren
Ingrid
Bacall.
Bergman. That's
And
right.
one of the things that I was reading is that Ingrid Bergman was actually supposed to play, I think, Dragomiro,
Oh, really?
originally,
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
and she said no, that
Oh.
she didn't want that role. She felt it
Mhm.
was too big. She didn't
Mhm.
want a big role. She wanted a little role, which is why she ends up playing the, German maid or something like that. She plays, like,
Mhm.
the really little role where she looks frumpy. I was surprised. I was like, "Oh my god," like, another one. How far have you fallen that you allowed them to make you look like this? Like, she looks so different from the glamorous hair pulled
Yeah,
back,
yeah.
makeup. Like, they made her this frumpy
Mm,
maid who's
mhm.
just, like, she can't speak English,
Right.
and she's.
Have you noticed that? That's very trendy in Hollywood. They like women, after a certain age, or at least
Right,
in the past, I should say, they wanna expand their, like, resume to include
right.
like, a more varied, like, wider range of roles, right?
Mhm.
Because that's how they're gonna snag that Academy Award. So,
Right. At this
you
point,
know,
they're like, "I'm over the hill. How am I gonna get it? Maybe
how
if
am I
I
gonna
play
get
this
it?
really
Right.
powerful. I have one scene where I have to
One
really
scene. Right,
sell it, so let me
right.
sell it in this one scene."
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's the full cast, and similar to the Alfred Molina, it's kinda silly,
Mhm.
and I think it's because Albert Finney, you can't take him seriously in this
No,
role.
no.
He's got the egg shape, but the mustache is too short. It ends at the end of his nostrils, which I don't
Right.
understand. It's
Mhm.
just it's just weird all around. So, watch it if you want for all of the stars because there are more stars than what I told you. When you
Mhm.
watch it, you're almost like you recognize other people. If you've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
a lot of Hollywood movies from the 70s and 80s, you
Right.
those are just the most recognizable names, but there are others that I also recognize that I just didn't list. And then
Mhm.
there's the most recent one from I can't believe it's almost 10 years now.
Yeah, I
In
didn't even realize it's been that long.
2017,
Yeah, it's
Kenneth Branagh did his version because he's slowly working his way through doing a lot of Poirot movies, um, unfortunately. Uh, because, I mean, who
I think I'm pretty sure I like them more than you do, but
I don't
yeah.
know whose mustache is more ridiculous for
Oh,
Poirot,
now that does bother me. It
his
bothers me.
or who's the other one, who played Gandhi? Oh my god, what's that actor's name?
We always talk about him, and then I always
Because
forget.
he has a mustache, but his goes around his ear, like it comes out and it loops around. He's played Poirot too, but he just hasn't done he did, like, the ABC Murders, I think. And I'm trying to remember who that actor is, it's so bad. But anyway, so Kenneth Branagh had Penelope Cruz, Willem Dafoe
Right.
was in that, I think was it Dame Judi Dench in it too? I feel like
Yeah,
she was
she
in it,
was.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just trying to remember because that's the one I didn't watch, even though I have already seen it.
Mhm.
So now those are all the adaptations. Watch
Right.
the one you wanna watch.
Watch the one you wanna watch.
I recommend. Oh, I didn't even talk about the David Suchet version. So that one
Yep,
has Toby Jones,
yep.
amazing, love that actor. Jessica Chastain is in it.
Mhm.
She's great, and there are a bunch of others, in there as well. I think his version is the shortest version at 90 minutes. Hold
Yeah.
on one second.
Okay.
Hold on, I think my wife is trying to get me.
Okay. Well, I can just keep talking.
Yeah, if you wanna keep
So
talking, I'm gonna
so
mute myself.
yeah, so for those of you just joining us, because I see some people have just joined us, we were discussing first the, Murder on the Orient Express, film adaptation, and which ones we liked, which ones we hated, who stars in them, and, like, what impresses us, what doesn't, right? And so, my personal recommendation, if you're going to watch a film version of Murder on the Orient Express, my recommendation is David Suchet's version, of Murder on the Orient Express. Even though I completely agree that maybe, there's some liberties taken or whatever, I still think it does the best job of conveying her story overall, even though I agree that there's some key differences
Yeah,
between one and the Kenneth Branagh version that are better suited for that version. Anyway, but for anyone just now joining us, when I go like this, that's clip, clip, clip. That means that we are going to start talking about spoilers. And if you want to ditch this conversation until you finish the book or seen the movie or read the graphic novel, then you can come back and watch it later. So just let me know when I need to do this, Erica.
yeah, yeah, okay, so I think we're gonna start, essentially dissecting the book. So now we can, or dissecting the
Should I do
story
this now?
itself.
I was like, it's like I
So
knew and you wanted me to do this.
yeah, yeah. So I think, I mean, because we need to talk. I think the only way to talk about the story itself is to talk about the story within the story,
Right.
right? So I'm gonna try to just reference the book if I can, and not try to automatically start thinking about each of the different versions I've watched and how
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
represent this.
Yeah.
But like you said, it starts with them in Istanbul. And it starts with him getting on, like, in order to get to the train, there's a lot of traveling that has to happen.
Mhm.
And one of the things is he has to get on like a little ferry boat. And on this little ferry boat, he overhears a conversation
That's
that's
right.
very important
That's
and that
very
kind of
important.
drives throughout the story
Mhm.
with Mary Debenham and Colonel Arbuthnot, which is the names are just crazy. But the two of them are kind of he can tell from afar that they're clearly in some sort of relationship romantically, and that she makes this comment of like, "Not right now. Wait. We have
Mhm.
to wait till it's done," or whatever,
Right,
however
until this
she
is all
phrases
behind
it.
us. Right.
Right, right.
Till
So then now he gets to the hotel. There's a
Mhm.
hotel that he gets to, and that's where Poirot gets a message at this hotel saying, like, he's needed urgently back at home. And
Mhm.
so he thinks he's gonna be staying at this hotel and kind of relaxing after he just came back from solving a case at
Yeah.
some military base somewhere. The military
Yeah.
asked him to come and solve this case internally, and he does. And now he's staying at the Tercathlon, I think is what it's called. He gets this thing that says you have to come immediately. So he tells the hotel manager, like, can you get me transportation on the Orient Express? I need to head back to London. He says, okay. Unfortunately, it's booked, which is unusual for
Mhm.
that time that the Orient Express should be booked. However, while he's there, Monsieur Book is the head of the whole train, and
Right.
he sees his friend and he's like, he's a famous detective. I'm going to get you on this train, no problem. They always hold one back
Right.
secretly and don't tell anyone about this secret compartment,
Extra
and you're going to
yeah,
get into
extra
it.
one, yeah.
So he manages to get him into this train,
Mhm.
and where he ends up sharing a berth with Mr. McQueen.
Mhm.
And throughout all of this that's happening, uh, Ratchet, who's is some loud, brash
Oh,
person.
cut.
Right,
Yeah,
right. It's
everybody gets this conversation.
some loud, brash
Yeah,
person who Poirot hears in the foreground, and
mhm,
he's kind of like you could tell he's put off by
right,
his by the way he speaks, the way he behaves, the way he treats people around him,
mhm,
immediately put off by this person. So everyone gets on the train. Mr. McQueen, who Poirot happens to be sharing a berth with,
right,
happens to be the valet or the assistant to Mr. Ratchet.
right,
At some point while they're on the train now, Ratchet goes to Poirot and says, "You're going to protect me from someone trying to kill me."
mhm,
To which Poirot, in as nice a manner as he can tell him, says, "I've lived a good life. I make good money. I
yep,
don't need you or your
right,
work.
right,
And quite frankly, I don't
mm,
like your face."
right,
Like
right.
literally, like
What a line,
I
what a line.
don't like your
I love that.
face.
I love that. I love
Like
it, I
I'm
love
not
it. Because
right,
he senses something's off about this guy
right, right.
immediately, and nothing's very, very specific that happens, but it's more about the vibe that he gets, just that guy's presence. In his presence, he's realizing, "Wait a second, something's really wrong with this person," right? And,
Yeah,
hey, we know a lot of those kinds of people today, the kinds of people that don't wanna take no for an answer,
yeah,
don't listen, think that their money can buy whatever they want, right? And like, so Ratchet is like, well, hey, I've got all this money and I need you to do this for me and you're going to do it. And he's not used to hearing no, but the greatest detective in the world said no. So,
right. Um, and obviously, what ends up happening is exactly what Ratchet said was going to happen, which is that he's going to get murdered.
right.
Um, One of the things I wanna bring up, because I am always thinking about the David Suchet version at this point. One of the things I found interesting
Hmm.
is they try to humanize Ratchet a little in the
Right.
Suchet version, because that moment where Ratchet knows that he's gonna get killed, he actually says a prayer,
Oh, he
and
does.
they kinda
Okay.
juxtapose Poirot with his beads saying a
Oh,
prayer
you're
for the
right.
night, with
Yeah.
Ratchet sitting on his bed with the gun beside him saying, like, "Please, God, because I need to make penance,
Hmm.
and so I need to make it to the end of this journey
Hmm.
where I intend to pay my penance for the sins that I have committed."
Right.
And then he goes to bed and Poirot goes to bed, and then what ends up happening is, Ratchet gets murdered in the middle of the night. Poirot gets woken up, and the head of the train, Monsieur Book,
Hmm.
says to him, "You have to solve this case." Now, while this is all happening, a lot of other little things are
A
happening
lot of
that
things.
are like clues. One of the things
Yep.
that happens is the train gets stopped in a snowdrift,
Right.
so they're not moving.
Hmm.
Another thing that happens is he gets woken up sometime in the middle of the night from a scream that
Hmm.
is from, uh, Ratchet next door,
Hmm.
and
But he
so
doesn't know
he
that time. Right.
right, he assumes that
Mhm.
Ratchet just screamed
He
and it woke him up, and so
Yeah.
he peeks outside where he hears the one of the what are they called? The train
Conductors?
conductors, yeah, it
Yeah.
goes to
Yeah.
Ratchet's door, knocks on it, and Ratchet in French says to
Mhm,
him, "It was a mistake, I'm fine."
mhm.
And then there's some other things that happen, such as, um, one of the other passengers says that there was a man in her room, and
Right.
she swears that a man was just in her room right now, and the conductor's like, "You're crazy," tells Poirot, like, "That woman is nuts, no man would wanna be in her room because she's an American chatterbox who's constantly talking about her daughter and how her daughter wouldn't believe it, she won't believe it when she tells her about this and tells her about that," and she's clearly, a traveling foreigner traveling through,
Right.
and just, being very loud and brash and talking to everyone about whatever. And so she's portrayed as this very annoying
I know.
American traveler.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And
We don't
what's
know
what's
any annoying
so
Americans either.
Right, and what's so interesting is at one point when they're all in the dining car, before all of this happens, before Ratchet even approaches Poirot, there
Yeah,
is a very important scene that happens where Book is eating with Poirot, and he says to him, "This is the only place where so many different cultures,
right. Together. Yeah,
nationalities, and
yeah.
people would all be eating together in
Mhm.
one small confined place, and how amazing is the Orient Express because you've got the foreign dignitaries over here and you've got the princess over here and you've got, an Italian over here and a Russian over here and a German over here and, all of these different people who
Right.
strangers who don't know
Strangers.
each other
Right, right,
are all on this train eating together and behaving,
right.
and it's so unusual. Um And then this murder happens, and Poirot is woken up, and he's told he has to solve it because where their next stop is in a country
Mhm.
that would not be pleasant to any of the people on the train. And so
Right,
the best way to kind of get moving once they get there with this dead body is if they can say to them, "The most famous detective
right.
solved it.
Solve this case.
Here's the killer."
Yep.
They
Here,
accept it, and the train can
move
move
on.
on,
Right, right.
and
And it's
everything
less
will
of
be
a
fine.
PR disaster. Yeah, yep,
Right, right. So that's what Book cares about. He doesn't care about anything else. He's like, "Please, please just find out who the killer is and let's move on with our lives."
yeah.
Um, and this is kind of where the story develops because this entire time, Poirot is hesitant, but he's also curious, right? He can't
Mhm.
help
Right,
himself. At first he doesn't wanna solve this case, but then he's like, "Well, this is a unique one, isn't it?"
yeah. And
Um,
I'm stuck in the snow.
right, like, what else is he gonna do? He's like, "Well, I'm
But
here, you're here, I'm here, the dead body's here."
yeah.
So the dead body has 12 stab wounds,
Mhm.
different variety, some look weak, some look strong, some look left-handed, some look right-handed, like, so that's one of those things where it's like, was it one person? Was it 2 people?
Mhm.
And that's where the continuous conversation between Mary Debenham and Colonel Arbuthnot constantly comes into his mind because he assumes the conversation they're having has to do with, "First, we have to kill Ratchet,
Right,
and
yeah.
then we can do the thing." And so if he's thinking there was a strong person who's left-handed and a weak person who's right-handed,
Mhm.
then the weak person could be the woman, Mary, and then the stronger one could be the colonel, right? And
Right,
they committed this crime, and so he's trying to find that out. And
yeah.
one of the main clues that he
Mhm.
uncovers is a piece of burnt paper where they
Right.
something was being burned. He's able to revive one of the pieces where he can see it before it burns into ashes,
Mhm.
and that piece leads him to Daisy Armstrong, which
Right.
is, big spoiler in a way, but Daisy Armstrong at the time was this big case that happened in the United States, and I will say that it is mimicking a real case
You're right. The Lindbergh.
happened in the United States, the
Yeah,
Lindbergh
Lindbergh
baby
baby. Yeah.
that was kidnapped and all these things. So this is literally mimicking that. The idea is Ratchet, who
Mhm.
actual real name was Cassetti, kidnapped the child.
Right.
Well, the child was killed.
Mhm.
And as a direct result of this, the mother of Daisy Armstrong, she who was pregnant at the time when she went to give
Mhm.
birth, the baby died and she died.
He died.
The husband, distraught at losing his
Whole
Daisy, at
family.
losing his
Yeah,
wife, at losing, um,
yeah.
kills himself.
Right.
And then there's a maid who happened to be working for the family at the time, who the
Mhm.
police believed was the
Really?
reason why Cassetti was able to get into the house and was working with him and all these things. She can't believe that all this is happening, and she takes her own life as well.
Yeah.
So there's all these people that end up killed. They, at the time, before they even knew that Daisy Armstrong was killed, paid the ransom, which was like $200,000, I think, or
Mhm.
250. So Cassetti got away for a while with all of
Yep,
this money, and
yep.
then he ended up getting off on some,
Yeah, it's
I don't
different.
know,
Yeah,
technicality or something.
yeah, yeah.
So that he changed his name and started traveling. And he
Mhm.
was continuously traveling because he felt, I'm sure, that the law was like one step behind him. So he never stayed in one place at one time. He was always on the move. He ends up hiring the queen
Mhm.
because he's traveling to all these foreign countries and he doesn't speak any of the languages. So he hires McQueen because he doesn't know any other language but English. So McQueen's purpose is
Mhm.
to kind of translate for him wherever he goes,
Right.
which is another one of those big clues
A big
that
yeah, really
doesn't
big and they're
speak any
10.
other language.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah? I didn't even write down how many big
yeah,
clues there are because there's so many.
yeah. And but see, that's what makes the mystery so interesting and confusing, right? Because there are all these suspects,
Mhm.
12, a lot of suspects. I can only think of and then there were none as being
Right,
the
with
big
10.
pool
Yeah,
of suspects that Agatha Christie ever uses, and then there were none, and now Murder on the Orient Express. So in addition to having all these extra people he has to investigate and put together the pieces, there are all these clues, and he's having a hard time making them make sense, and he's the greatest detective in the world. So
right, and but
what
one of the things
does it
he
mean?
doesn't have at his disposal
Right?
is facts.
Yeah.
Because typically, if he was at home, if he was where anywhere other than locked on this train, he would
Yeah.
have access to books and files and reports and,
Right.
the
Yeah.
newspaper clippings and all of these
Newspaper.
things that would
Yeah.
give him all the information that he needs to uncover who all of these people truly are, and he
Right.
doesn't have that. Which, by the way, I know I said I wasn't gonna mention the Alfred Molina version, but I need to talk about this because what does he have at his disposal in this version?
Yeah. Yeah.
A laptop.
See,
So he's
I didn't make it that far into the movie to see that. You've got to be kidding me. Are you serious right now?
he takes someone's laptop who has a router, and he uses it to Google.
What?
Yeah,
That is crazy. Are you
yeah.
serious? What? Like,
Dial up at its
wait.
best. I
Well, hey, listen. So Alfred Molina, like, what's so funny about that is, he goes on to play Inspector Gamache in Louise Penny's Three Pine series on Prime Video, right? And like,
Mhm.
think about it, like, man, like if the people who produced The Crown, the EPs who produced The Crown, had seen this version of Murder in the Orient Express, would they have cast Alfred Molina as
I don't
Inspector
even
Gamache?
know.
Maybe not. I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah.
It's just, I just that movie anyway, okay, moving on. I just had to bring that up because one
That's
of the
really
main
funny.
things is that he has to rely on his instincts
Yeah.
and what each person is telling him, truth or lie, what
Mhm.
is truth and what is lie. Like, he does not have access to anything. To the only truth he has is that he knows that this piece of paper that was burned said Daisy Armstrong on it, and it screws up the real plan
Mhm.
in so many ways. So, I'm gonna reveal the big spoiler now because I feel like it's the only way to really discuss all 12 of the suspects.
Right.
But the big spoiler and the big reveal is that they all did it,
Yes.
which is kind of, like, brilliant in itself. Every single person on that train had a reason and had a connection to the Armstrong family to want to enact their own justice on Cassetti and kill him. And
Yeah.
so each one of them got the ability to take the murder weapon and stab him
Mhm.
while he was incapacitated.
Mhm.
Um, and when I say every single person, I mean from the train conductor
Mhm.
to the princess and the maid and, like, the salesman. There's a guy who says he's a private detective that was hired by Cassetti. Yeah, right. Like,
Right.
all
Yeah.
12. And they act like judge and jury. So you have a jury of 12 people, and they have decided that this is what they were gonna do. Now, what they did not account for
Mhm.
is Thoreau ending up on the train.
Yeah.
And because he ends up on the train, they kind of have to change their plans, and because they get trapped by the
Right. Because
circus.
they weren't
So
anticipating that happening. They thought it was
so
gonna be quick and
right.
done, and then you're
So
out.
those 2 things become an issue, and then the third thing is when he uncovers who Cassetti really is, because
Mhm.
they thought they had burned this piece of paper, not realizing that he was gonna have the genius scientific mind to reveal words on this burnt piece of paper that would then lead him to Daisy Armstrong and that whole thing. So they had
Mhm.
to, on the fly, in a way, come up with a good enough alibi for each other, separately, the whole bit, come up with the and to me, that was the most genius part because they had a plan to begin with, and they had to change it completely when
Yeah.
they realized the world famous detective was on this train to
Mhm.
try to fool him, and in doing so, they ended up revealing more and more and more. Like, they
Right.
couldn't
That's
they
true.
couldn't hide who they were and
No,
what their
couldn't
connection
hide.
was.
Right.
There was no more hiding
Right.
behind it. McQueen had to admit at one point that his father was the prosecutor on the
Mhm.
case. And he loved, um, Mrs. Armstrong, and he looked up to her, and she was apparently very nice to him, and each person had their own reason. The
Right.
father of the maid who killed herself, he was there.
Mhm.
He actually was the valet for Ratchet.
Right.
Her boyfriend at the time, he was there as well. Like they each
All
had,
these yeah, they
um
all yeah.
Daisy Armstrong apparently had an older sister, and she was there with
Right.
her husband.
Mhm.
Um, and then there's, Princess Dragomirov, she was the godmother
There,
to
right?
Daisy Armstrong, and
Mhm.
she was a huge um, oh God, the name of the mom just came into my head and then it left me, but she was a famous actress. Um, Arlene something.
Arden.
Uh, yeah.
Was
Um,
it Linda Arden, or was it maybe I might be wrong.
Maybe it is Linda Arden.
I know her
It was
last name is Arden.
she had an actress sounding name.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
she was,
very
she was an admirer of hers and then she became the godmother to Daisy Armstrong and that's why she was there. And
right,
like each one of them had and he had to uncover all of that as he went on. He had to uncover who was the chauffeur, who was, the cook, who was, you know, each of them. Each of
right,
them had some sort of connection during that time with it. And so each of them stabbed um, Cassetti. And what ends up happening at the end is he comes up with what their original plan was for how or who the killer is, and then with the real story. And so he tells Book, the head of the train, here are the two versions that we have for what happened here. There's the version where someone got on the train,
yep,
had, managed to get a wagon Lee conductor's outfit,
oh, yep,
managed to get
yeah, and
a
yep,
key that would let
yep,
him into every room, managed to do this, managed to do that, managed to escape,
right,
right? This man with a female voice is this
right,
mysterious person who
mhm,
appeared and disappeared and now no one knows where they are. And then there's the version where everyone on this train has a relation to the Armstrong family and
right,
each one of them took turns stabbing Cassetti.
right,
And now that I have given you those two versions, I'm going to take a step back
yes,
and I'm going to let you decide
right.
which one you tell the
Which one?
police when we get there.
Yeah, yeah,
And the decision is to go with the first one, which is the mysterious person who came on the train, killed Cassetti, and left. The mobster or whatever,
mhm,
because they say he was on the run from the mob.
mhm,
And so all these people get away essentially with murder. Um, and one of the scenes, which unfortunately, like I said, is not in the book, but is probably for me one of the best scenes that David Suchet ever did at
yes,
portraying Poirot.
yes, absolutely, and
And
it
I
was
th I think
yeah,
Kenneth Branagh has a similar reaction at the end, if I remember correctly, but Suchet does it much better
yeah, yeah.
in the
It's not as strong because I just
Yeah.
finished the Rana version last night, and it's so much better with David Suchet. Just
Right.
that one particular moment especially. Yeah,
Suchet is angry,
yeah,
and angry in a way that you'd never see Poirot angry before.
yeah,
Like, it's one thing to be duped, it's one thing for a person to assume that they're better than him and they could get away with murder, but he is I mean, because he's a very religious man,
Right.
and they
Right.
bring that home a lot in the David Suchet version. He has
Yeah.
his prayer group, he's constantly praying, he's asking God for forgiveness. He did just leave that military thing where,
Right.
if you remember at the beginning, when he accuses this guy and he solves what happened, the guy pulls a gun and he shoots himself right in front of
Yeah.
Poirot. So he's got a bit of a shell shock, almost a PTSD situation going on, and
Yeah.
now he's on this train with these 12 killers
Mhm.
who just assume they're gonna get away with murder, and he's pissed that he can't pin it on them. He
Mhm.
doesn't want them to get away with murder. He doesn't think they're above the law. He doesn't think they're above God. He wants to be able to prove that these 12 people did it, but he
Yeah.
can't, and he
Yeah.
has to wrestle with that, and it brings him to literal tears that he can't turn these people in, and
Right.
he's forced to walk away and let them get away with murder, and it breaks him in a way that's just like the way he does that scene is just so unbelievable, and
Yeah.
so I'm always surprised, or I was literally surprised because I don't think I've ever read the book,
Mhm.
that doesn't happen in the book because I'm
Right.
just like, "Oh my god."
Right. That's
Like,
all
literally,
David Suchet, that
like,
director. Yeah.
literally, like, the
Yeah.
last line is him saying,
Mhm.
"Okay, I'm done."
Mhm.
He
Well,
says,
and screenwriter, I should say. Yeah.
"Then, having placed my solution before you, I have the honor to retire from the case." The
Mhm.
end.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just like,
Right.
"Where's the outrage?
Yeah.
Why isn't he
Yeah.
upset? Like, why is he okay with the fact that these people just got away with murder?" And
So
it
so
really is because he can't prove if the first stab killed him or the last stab or the second or the third.
yeah,
You
which
get
one
because
yeah.
there's 12 stabbings. Which one of them was the blow that did it? And
Mhm.
you can't put all 12 of them because that would just be too complicated and confusing. There was no way for him to
Right.
he had to go with the first option,
Yeah. But
which
so
was not the option he wanted to go with.
one of the things I really liked about the David Suchet version is that they kind of foreshadow, um, the whole thing about a jury on the train that's going to, make sure that justice is served by, showing the scene where, one of the women who eventually becomes a passenger, I think, on the train later, sees this incident where, um, this woman is being attacked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
And
in
so,
the
you know what?
beginning,
So,
yeah,
for anyone who's read the short story by Shirley Jackson, The Lottery, so
right,
so the whole top part of that, it's so fascinating because if the David Suchet version of Murder in the Orient Express hadn't thrown that in, like, I don't know if I would have seen the similarities, but I do really love seeing that similarity, like that call to Shirley Jackson's The Lottery and with that story, following it after. I like that a lot, and I like that at the top of the Kenneth Branagh version, they mention, how he sees truth as black and white. There is no
right,
gray. And then
correct.
by the end of the story, you know, is there gray? Is there?
Yeah, he's forced to contend with there being gray,
Right.
and that's not
Yeah,
okay.
I
Now,
like
and
that.
and again, I hate to
Yeah.
go back to the Alfred Molina version, but I feel like
Mm.
people need to suffer with me. Let me let me tell you
You were
about the
cracking
end
me
of
up
the
so
Alfred
hard.
Molina version, because you will not believe how that version ends. It
Right.
ends with literally them popping bottles of champagne because
What?
they got away with murder and they know that they're not
What?
going to be that they're
What?
not going to be turned
What?
in. They
Oh
literally
my gosh.
and Poirot knocks one back, and when he gets off the train, his
Wow.
lady love, who he left,
Wow. Wow.
she decided she couldn't go with him, and he said he couldn't stay
Wow.
with her. She meets him on the train platform, and they
Mm.
walk off together arm in arm,
Oh my
smiling.
gosh.
But
Glad
everyone is
we finished
drinking
that.
champagne
Uh,
like
uh, I'm
it's
so
true.
glad I didn't finish that. Oh my gosh. That would have made me so crazy. But that's funny. The laptop. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah. When they
Wow.
brought out the laptop, I was like, "Stop it."
It's funny too because when I was watching the movie last night, I was thinking, this would be so horrible if it had been set in modern day. I even had that thought.
Yeah.
Like, what, they're just going to Google Armstrong murder on their phone and see
Right, right.
what is there, right? So, but I like that to solve this mystery, he has to be able to read people well. And he always,
Mhm,
right? In every case, in every book, he reads people well. He picks up on these subtle little nuances that, other detectives wouldn't, other people wouldn't, other police officers wouldn't. But I like this in particular because he manages to get specific information out of each of them. And it's
mhm,
just enough to put together the pieces so that it makes sense what has happened. And it's so
mhm.
dangerous. So like, it's crazy. Like that's a crazy solution to
And it and
murder.
it's and what's great is the 2 people they give him because they give him Book, who
Mhm.
after each person he interviews, he says, "He did it. He did it. He's
Right.
guilty. Did you hear what he just said?
He
No, no, no,
definitely
wait.
did it.
I think, the Italian did it. You know why? Because Italians use knives, and they love knives.
So
That's the
funny.
weapon
I
of
love
choice
that.
for the
Yeah.
Italian, the mob. That's what
Right.
they use. Like, each person, he was like, "Okay, I think they did it." Poirot, "Do you think they did it?" And Poirot's like, "We haven't heard everyone." And then you had Constantine. He was he actually was the role that David Suchet was in his version, because he's the one who says no,
Hmm.
if I recall correctly in the book. Dr. Constantine, after Poirot says, "Here's A and here's B, you
Hmm.
pick which one." When Book says, "I'm gonna go with version A," it's the doctor who slams his fist every time
Hmm.
and says, "No, that's not right. No, there was not some mysterious person. No, they didn't just mysteriously get on the train and disappear and get off the train and
Right.
this and that." Like, he's the antithesis to Duck, who's like, "Anyone, pick any I don't care. I don't care who it is. Just pick someone and let's have this thing solved and over and done with." And the
Hmm.
doctor is like, "No, we need the facts. And the facts are that this solution is not right."
Hmm.
But and so I'm wondering if that was a choice that they made when they did the David Suchet version, was to take the anger that the doctor was feeling in the
Right.
book and
Right.
give it to him instead, and
Yeah.
let him play that anger of, "This isn't right, that
Mhm.
what's happening here, but it's the only solution that we have." Because I did like that they gave him these 2 people who were very different. And speaking of, is it in the Alfred Molina version or is it in I'm trying to remember which version. There's a version where the doctor is actually like a podiatrist. Like, he's not even the kind of doctor who would be able to even count the number of wounds or how the wounds
Oh,
were
yeah.
done or anything like that. And I'm trying to
That must
remember
have
which
that must have
version.
Lena. That must have been
It
that one.
was either
'Cause
that
I
one or
yeah, no.
Alchemy. There's one of them where he's like, "Well, what kind of doctor are you anyway?" And he's like, "I'm a so and so." And he said, "Yeah, you wouldn't even know how many knife wounds are
Mhm.
here. Like, so what are
Right.
you saying? Well, you're an idiot. Don't speak. Just listen." Um, yeah, but, oh, such a so good, so good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just it's such a memorable book. It's such a great mystery. I mean, it wasn't the first murder mystery set on a train, but it was definitely the most popular of the first ones set on a train with the biggest impact on its audience. And the use of a train as the setting for the murder mystery is just so perfect. I love it.
Mhm.
Love it so, so much. And I love how they're stuck, which is something that actually happened to Agatha Christie. She got stuck
Right.
on a train, and she got stuck on a train with an annoying American woman
Mhm.
going on and on and on and on about how, "Oh, if
Right.
I was in America, they would have gotten us out of this snowdrift.
Mhm.
We'd already be there, and they would have dug us out, and we'd be carrying on with our trip, and I'm gonna miss my plane," or whatever. Yeah, so
Mhm.
I thought that was interesting too, that she kind of used that as, her basis for the predicament that they got stuck in. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So that is Murder on the Orient Express. Now next month, we're reading a Caribbean mystery, which is, I
Yeah.
believe, is that a Miss Marple? I think that's a Miss
Yes,
Marple,
Miss
right?
Marple. So that
Yeah.
is of my favorite Miss Marples. A murder is announced and the Caribbean mystery. Oh my gosh, so good, so good, so good, so good.
Yeah.
And it just I love it. I'm very, very partial to elderly detectives, very partial. And
Mhm.
um, I just see that as oh, it's just so well done. It's just so well done. And there are two good adaptations of it. So that's good.
Right.
Um, for TV. Um, how there hasn't been, you know what? Isn't it crazy there hasn't been like a film, like a movie version? I mean, there are movie length television episodes of a Caribbean mystery, but I think it's really interesting how they haven't really brought Miss Marple to the big screen in a big way, the way that Kenneth Branagh, like, kind of brought Poirot back. So it'd be
Mhm.
interesting to see that. I would love to see that. If anyone on
Yeah.
the call can make that happen, I would love to see that. So anyway,
Okay.
yeah. So a Caribbean mystery
Yeah.
next month. Go
Yeah.
ahead and get your copies now. And so here's my version of the Orient Express, but actually Erica has a much better one. And then I can recommend this too. Did you like it? You liked it, right? Graphic
I
novel?
did, yeah, it was actually really good. It was a quick read.
Right.
I love when they do that, when they do, the graphic novels of it. I think they did it for another one, I can't remember which one. Um, was it And Then There Were None? I have to look it up, but I think they're trying to do graphic novels for more of her books.
Oh yeah.
But I do have to get a Caribbean mystery. I don't have it, which is so strange because I've been buying books like crazy. And
Hmm.
I just realized yesterday, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have got like these 5 books that came in the mail. Maybe I should have gotten
Hey, do you want listen? You want to something funny? Someone and I have never had this happen before. I'm not even kidding. Someone stole my package that had these 2 books in it when I had them delivered in the mail, and all I could think was, my husband was, like, annoyed. All I could think was, like, "Oh my gosh, now I've unintentionally introduced someone to mystery.
right, right. They're
I
gonna have
hope
to
that
read
this
that
thief
book.
I hope this thief loves these books. I hope this person has never read Murder on the Orient Express, and I hope now they're, like, super into it."
Right. They're like,
So
"This
I
is
don't
what
know,
I
there's something funny.
stole?" Imagine if they brought it back. They're like,
I know,
here you go, miss.
that would have been so funny. Oh my
Don't
gosh.
actually need this."
Right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna buy that. I still have it, which is so crazy. I don't think I've released my review from last month that you and I did. So I'm a little
Okay.
behind. So I have to release that.
Yeah.
And I haven't read the short stories I meant to read
Mhm.
this month,
Mhm.
because of everything that's been
You
going on. So
you had a yeah, yeah.
I need to
So
kinda catch up on that. So
uh,
and then I will release this video with my review of, like,
mm.
everything from March, so I can kinda catch up.
Why have I not plugged our newsletters? I should have been I should have been doing that all throughout this conversation. So, I am the creator and editor and writer of Only Murders in the Inbox, and Erica has Ink After Dark
Yep.
and, TIFF, which is Top in Fiction,
Yep.
and on top of all that, Erica has done 100-word stories, and it is amazing, and I love it so, so much, and you should go on Substack and read those right now, they're really fun. Just read them, as you go, like, start at the beginning and just, like, read through, and they're
Mhm.
so yeah, so if you love murder mysteries, you love crime fiction, if you love fiction in general, and you wanna check out what's
And
best on Sub
especially if you love Agatha Christie, follow us
yeah.
because 'cause we're reading Agatha Christie all year.
Yeah, all year. Eric and I are reading Agatha Christie all year. We welcome you to join us. Please join us and a Caribbean mystery next month. So
Yeah.
see you then.
Yes, definitely. Alright.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Erica. Thanks everyone for being.
Thanks.
We appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.